thejaycraig.com.
Craig!
Jason, what is going on?
I am right.
We are back. Let's do it.
What should we talk about?
Jason Catron,
Craig Miller.
how's it going?
Hey, I didn't even know you came in here.
Snuck in like the stealthy ninja that I am.
That is crazy. Did you by chance want to talk about movies?
I do want to talk about movies.
I would love to talk about something, and we have someone sitting next to her.
He snuck in too.
I'm back, baby.
It's
Bob!
What should we talk about?
Craig.
Yes, Jason.
I want to talk about
Movies?
yes, but in a very grand way.
Okay.
Decades. What is your favorite decade
Interesting.
of movies?
I'll tell you right now, my favorite decade of movies is
You can tell me right off the bat.
1970s.
Really?
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Isn't it kind of cool if you think about decades? What is your favorite decade? Because it can be like what you grew up with. It can be something that transformed you. It can be something that you experienced later in life. So I thought maybe we could go through an idea of a listing of the top decades. And
Absolutely.
see because I have a couple that I'm not really sure which one's my favorite yet. And I want to kind of like see if this will help me kind of pinpoint it.
Because I think it's
What
interesting.
decades are you gonna get? Are you
Oh,
thinking
okay. So
about?
I was thinking maybe this is outside the box, but 60s through 2000s.
Through present day.
To
Interesting.
Yeah,
2010s
through
are
present day,
too soon. They for 6 years. I don't want to include
Right.
them.
Okay.
60s because I know a lot of good 50s movies, but I can't like.
60s is when shit started to change.
I think that's when the movies really started
Shit
becoming
started to
something
change.
powerful. So
when the studio system broke down, right?
Yep.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and when it comes to the 60s, I'll start with the 60s if you don't mind.
Right on.
Because I kind of like the 60s for one reason.
Okay.
Westerns.
Ooh.
Every movie in the 60s for me is a Western. It's actually
okay.
just kind of ridiculous because first of all, one of my favorite movies of all time is Once Upon a Time in the West.
Absolutely, of course.
Sergio Leone's masterpiece, right? And and I found it late in life too. The next one I'm gonna have to say is The Wild Bunch.
Good choice.
I mean, how can you not like the Wild Bunch? It had such an amazing ending with the Gatling gun battle that it really, and the fact that it had blood on people. Like there was things that they weren't.
It was the
showing
most
before.
violent scene up until that point in
It
cinema.
was so amazingly violent. And then another one that I loved that these are all like in the same era of the 60s, like late 60s.
Right.
But Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Another
Was
great
it
movie.
60s or 70s?
69.
That was 60s, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty absolutely sure of that. Yeah. And
That was a fun one.
that's a great movie because you have two great actors who are at their prime, right? And
Right.
the dialogue, the screenplay by William Goldman, everything is Walter Hill, or not Walter Hill. What's his name? What the hell's his name?
The director
Yeah.
of Butch Cassidy?
It's a three-name word. Three-word
crap,
name.
you just caught me off guard.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Anyway,
William Goldman.
No, that's the
That's
screenplay.
not
That's
the
the
screenplay
screenwriter.
writer.
The screenwriter.
George Roy Hill.
There it is.
Billy
George
Bob
Roy
Thornton.
Hill.
There it is. Okay.
Billy D. Williams.
So obviously, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly holds a special place in my heart because of the fact that it, you had all three of those guys in the same movie.
Outside the fact that it's just an amazing movie.
Right? It's just an epic, right? And then I'm gonna throw one a little bit more on a little bit kind of on the outside of the box, but it still holds with my Western love, and it's
Right.
Yojimbo.
Nice.
Yojimbo, what I found later. So I experienced westerns like kind of late in life, where I saw all the spaghetti westerns late. But then all of a sudden I started hearing about Akira Kurosawa,
Sure.
and I was like, oh, he influenced George Lucas and Coppola and Spielberg and all these guys. And all of a sudden I started watching stuff that he was inspired by, which was John Ford. And all of a sudden I started, it became like this.
Then you start.
symbiotic
It's
relationship.
like detective work.
Yeah.
You start finding
And I
out what's
started
going
finding-
on. Yeah.
And then when I saw
Yeah.
Yojimbo, I realized I saw it before.
Really?
Yeah. I saw it in the form of A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh, interesting.
And then later on in that, I saw a movie with Bruce Willis that I said, holy crap, this is a remake of those two movies. And that's Last Man Standing.
yes.
I never saw
Samurai movie, cowboy movie, gangster movie. Same exact story.
And it all translates.
Exactly.
It all translates.
So those are my 5 of my favorite.
Did you
Can I
of
ask
the
you a question?
60s. Yeah.
How did you get into westerns so late in life?
Well, my dad liked westerns, so I
Yeah.
remember like the TV shows.
But everyone
and-
from that era,
Yeah,
like, that's
sure,
what their movies
but
were.
Yeah,
Westerns,
right.
It was
you know?
something. Okay, I
I
remember
love John Wayne,
when
you
like
know.
the Sam's Club and Pace and Costco started going on. My mom bought, or I think I had her buy like the spaghetti western Man with No Name trilogy, right? And I never experienced spaghetti westerns or Clint Eastwood westerns other than like maybe a glimpse of like Pale Rider or something like that. And then when I watched that, I was like, wow, this is different.
Right.
And I watched Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and I was like, wow. That's different. That's a good story, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, I started watching more and more and more. Especially spaghetti westerns, I started branching off. But when I learned the whole Akira Kurosawa, John Ford, and then the Sergio Leone after, it just like everything. There's so much history there. There's so much. There's so much taken from those directors and movies that made the movies that we love right now.
Yes.
And that's what I love about them. Is that it's that.
Those movies are like the template.
Yeah, it's like it's that scope of it started everything, or people. It's what people get inspired by, and I love what the detective aspect.
There's
Finding out what they love.
There's a very independent spirit running through the 70s.
Absolutely. So
You know.
60s for me was
Or I meant 60s.
westerns.
Yeah, I meant
60s.
60s.
It just
60s
seems
westerns.
it's just odd, we're the same age range. We're both 15. That you would, you would go back and start watching movies from the 60s.
But
and they would have such a huge effect.
It became
on
a
you,
point.
you know?
Real quick, just a quick side note. What really got me into movies, like understanding like classic movies and where shit came from.
Right.
1998, my last year in college, Entertainment Weekly came out with the top 100 movies of all time.
I remember that.
And I started like watching every one of those
Oh,
movies.
that's
and
cool.
That's where I saw The Wild Bunch and Cool Hand Luke and The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca. And all of a sudden I was like, holy shit.
That blew your damn mind.
There's a lot of crap I've never seen. That's awesome.
That's good.
And
That's
then
very good.
Shortly thereafter, got into film school.
Right.
Because of Fight Club.
Right.
Fight Club is the one that really transformed my thinking.
Sure.
But it's going back and finding those things afterwards what really made me love movies. Not just the stuff that you watch now, it's what it came from.
Yeah.
What inspired it,
So
right?
you did mention Once Upon a Time in the West,
Of
right?
course. It's my favorite of
The
all
Professionals?
time. Ooh,
That's the 60s.
interesting.
The Professionals, yeah.
That's an interesting choice.
It's,
I like
it's a
that.
Western.
That movie.
Yeah.
Ooh, dude, it's got, we were just
Lee
talking about
Marvin,
him. Lee Marvin,
It's got Robert Ryan, Lee Marvin, Woody Strode,
Claudia Cardinal.
Claudia Carnell, and then another
She had.
another big name
Ridiculously high.
that I'm forgetting.
Italian.
But yeah, it's a good movie.
That's a very good movie.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Sam
And I
Peckinpah.
wrote-
I think it's
and
Sam
then-
Peckinpah.
And then 60s, what's Sam Peckinpah?
Isn't the Professional Sam Peckinpah? No.
No, it's not
No,
anywhere
no,
near
no,
violent
no.
enough for that.
No.
It's pretty. And then I'd written a couple down here because the 60s was a really good era for movies. Psycho,
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
of course.
Bullet,
Oh man, anything Steve McQueen, man. You're talking '60s.
Dirty Dozen.
Perfect example of a great movie.
Yep. I had tossed up. It was Butch Cassidy and Cool Hand Luke, but Paul Newman. I put them both in for Paul Newman.
I
which is
had
so
Cool
good.
Hand Luke in my top 10,
Yep.
absolutely. And what was the one you said before that? Cool Hand Luke, and I
Dirty Dozen.
nice. Yeah,
Dirty Dozen.
Good choices.
Great movie. And a lot of ensembles. You notice that? A lot of ensemble films.
Exactly.
A lot of teamwork ensemble films.
So you kind of came up with a lot more than just 5, and I like that because there's a couple that I had that in a top 10. Like how about Planet of the Apes?
2001.
Oh, 2001.
2001.
Yeah, that was 68, right?
I'm
Yeah.
not a big fan of 2001, but I appreciate what it did for cinema.
It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Planet of the Apes was fun to watch.
I
enjoyed
like it.
that.
It's a good movie.
Okay,
And I was telling The Graduate. That's one of my favorite movies.
I was
Yeah,
about to say The
Graduate's a great
Graduate.
movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's a
How
great
about
movie.
this one? The Great Escape.
Oh yeah, that's another great one.
That is a really
Excellent
cool
one.
movie. Another movie I saw so late in life where I was like, wow.
Another guy who was on
Everything's
fire
Steve
for so
McQueen.
long. It was like you had Steve McQueen and Robert Redford coming up,
Uh-huh.
and Paul Newman
Right?
just owning the 60s.
Yeah.
Just owning
James
it.
Gardner.
James
Lee
Gardner.
Marvin.
Oh, yeah.
James Coburn.
And then
Oh, yeah.
Clint Eastwood coming into prominence,
Right?
kind of sneaking in the back door there with
Right,
his
right,
Italian
right.
westerns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
good stuff.
That is so cool. All right, so that's the 60s. I think they're it's heavy in westerns, but a lot of other you got sci-fi, you got some other stuff in there, but let's move into the 70s.
Dude, okay, the 70s. Heard of the 70s are my favorite. The 70s is when cinema transformed, and cinema transformed because the people who were involved. And the people who were involved are still working right now. And they're still the guys at the top of their game.
Yep.
Okay, obviously Star Wars. I mean, I can't talk enough about how Star Wars changed the whole Hollywood landscape, so we're just going to skip over it. Everybody knows the story.
Yeah.
It's
you don't need to reiterate that point.
You can hate on George Lucas, but the man changed cinema, and he still continues to innovate.
I would even say that Jaws started first before. That was the first.
Yeah, it was
blockbuster,
75 for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jaws is up there for
it
sure.
It was to me, it was Star Wars's marketing and his push in technology and things of that nature.
Yes,
Jaws, to me, Jaws is a better movie. Mad Max. The first Mad Max.
The first Mad Max.
79. Yeah. George Miller, raising money in his house in the emergency room and then running out there and making a movie.
It cost $10,000.
Like, I think he spent 50 or 500 grand on it. I can't remember the number. Alien, which was Ridley Scott's first movie. He's still working.
Your name is some of my tops.
Oh,
Was that
George
his
Miller's
first movie?
George Miller. It was
No,
his first,
second movie. Second full
full feature length. Duelist was the
his
first movie. Yeah. So George Miller is still working and still vital to filmmaking.
Where this guy is still.
George Lucas is still out there kicking it around.
Yep. Spielberg.
We mentioned Jaws. Obviously, Spielberg is still the guy at the top of his game. The Exorcist.
Ooh.
I had The Exorcist and French Connection, kind of the same, one and the same.
Oh, darling.
Ooh, thank you very much, Tina.
Oh, she's out.
Thank you.
Just got delivered some pizza.
Okay,
Right.
someone we've mentioned at length several times. Halloween.
Ooh,
John Carpenter's big break.
That's right, that was 70s.
John Carpenter's big break.
The first
You know,
slasher movie.
his
Wow,
first
that's
slasher
like,
film.
yeah.
That's an impressive one right there. I like
Taxi
that.
Driver.
Taxi Driver.
Scorsese, still
Man,
working,
you came up with
still
some
vital.
good choices. No wonder you like the 70s so much.
Dude, the 70s is freaking awesome. Apocalypse Now.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I knew Coppola
I mean,
in the 70s.
Coppola
man.
in the 70s, again, on fire. Godfather 1, 2, and then
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse Now. Not the director so much as the man who made the movie, Dirty Harry. That's when Clint Eastwood hit the mainstream and blew up. He directed Play Misty for Me, and he directed a couple westerns.
Right.
And then he made Dirty Harry, and he's still working.
He's still
All
working
these
big
people
time.
are still vital, and
Right.
they still change the game.
And they
still
inspired
move it
an
forward.
another generation of filmmaking.
Absolutely.
That's what's amazing about
Totally.
it. They're not just working, they're inspiring.
I wish I had a De Palma movie on this list, but I don't. But I've got a gentleman who unfortunately passed away, A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, there you go.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Didn't even consider that one.
So he's got two amazing movies in a few decades. And then I've got Close Encounters on here, but I mean I prefer Jaws over Close Encounters. It's still an amazing movie. But to me the 70s are just like those are amazing movies.
They are.
They were innovative movies.
But I think
that
that you nailed something right there. It wasn't just the movies; it was the people who were making them that
Yes.
were still doing it.
Yes.
That brought it to another kind of level of.
They raised the
entertainment.
game.
Yeah,
They raised the game.
They really inspired like John Ford inspired Kurosawa. Kurosawa inspired Lucas and Coppola. But it's more like now it's like what these guys have done for the people we've been watching forever.
Yep.
It's amazing to see that translation.
Where like 40s, 50s, 60s, movies were like an assembly line. You worked for a company, you made movies. Where the kids that grew up watching those movies decided to become filmmakers.
Right.
And then, but they had their own voices, and they were able to do something different with it. It changed. The 70s changed everything.
It did.
Everything.
It did. That's a good choice.
You know?
That's a really good choice. I'll give two more examples. That I think you've hit almost everything I could actually hit in the 70s. So we're on the same page. That's an amazing list. The two that I'll offer, one is Chinatown.
Great movie.
Fantastic.
Right? It's the screenplay, the action, everything that's happening on the screen. I mean, not action.
That's another one of those
action on the screen.
template of perfection movies.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Saw it for the first time last year here at Cadron's. He introduced it to me.
Now,
And,
I hope I'm not wrong about the date on this. Deer Hunter was in the 70s, right?
I had Deer Hunter written somewhere else. So I didn't use it
yeah.
again.
I think is it 80s?
I think
it's
I thought it was like
Deer
late
Hunter's the 70s.
Yeah.
I've got Deliverance on here too.
Ooh.
Amazing
yeah.
movie.
Deliverance.
Amazing movie.
But Deer Hunter is a movie I didn't see until actually college. And I remember watching that movie and having to turn it off. Like, it disturbed me. Like, the ending, the whole last act, it was so powerful that it really got to me. And there's only a few movies that get to me like that, where it's like, it really gets right to you, where you just like have a hard time watching the ending of it, or just watching that's going to happen because you just don't want to see it. And that was one of those movies. And then the last one, it introduced superheroes.
Superman. 78.
That's a good 70s story, right? So I think you're right on, man. 70s are a great.
I have Superman on here.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't think you did. You say it earlier?
No.
Okay, good. Because
I was saving
good.
it. I was saving it.
Yeah, after Star Wars, because sci-fi wasn't really profitable.
That's what I mean by Star Wars.
Yeah.
Is the technology
So
pushed
people wanted anything.
cinema
Right.
forward.
Yeah. So
Right.
they wanted stuff. So that's why Superman got made. That's why Alien got made. That's why Star Trek the motion picture got made.
Right.
You know? And that was what, 79.
I mean, yeah, Alien, Superman, Star Trek. Those movies aren't possible without Star Wars.
Yes.
So I do like the 70s, and I'm not going to argue that at
None
all.
of you guys brought up Grease, which is one of the greatest movies.
I can't argue at all that could be your favorite decade, because I thought of that aspect of the inspiration from those people.
Right.
For me, one of my leaders right now is the next decade,
Sure.
1980s.
I can understand why.
And it's where I'm from 76. That's where I was born. So the 80s were like where 4 years old. That's where I remember everything, right? Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's your first 2 years right there of the 80s. Blade Runner following up that. You got Road Warrior. I mean, right there you have 4 movies that just were amazing that I can watch over and over today.
And you're only into 82.
And I'm only into 82. Exactly, right?
And all those movies were born from what came before in the 70s.
Yes.
Road Warrior,
well,
Empire Strikes Back.
just like anything in life, I mean, it takes the generation before it to push the next generation.
Absolutely.
But I'm only going to get to 85 on my first top 5.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, because for the
Next-
80s?
Next is Blade Runner.
Okay.
I mean, Blade Runner is 82. We're still at 82. And then I'll jump to 85.
Okay.
Back to the
Back to
Future.
the Future.
Back to the Future.
So there's your
Good choice.
80s, and that's just and then there's more. I mean, you could have put Predator. You could put Time Bandits. You know, there's so many more movies in the 80s
I
that you
wrote,
can
I
put out
wrote
there.
down quite a few on the 80s list just to throw a few at you.
Sure.
Die Hard.
Oh,
Die Hard.
yeah.
88.
I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
the seminal action film.
That's
Die
on,
Hard.
my, on my top 10. Absolutely.
Terminator.
Of course.
And, of course, RoboCop.
Of course.
Raising Arizona.
Huh.
Coen Brothers.
I
you
would
know,
not have thought of that one.
Second
Nice.
film, but I mean, a great movie.
How about
It's
Goonies?
so funny.
I don't have it on
I
here,
have
but it's a
Goonies
good
on
movie.
mine.
Ghostbusters
The Thing.
is on there.
The Thing. I had that on mine.
Caddyshack. I got Caddyshack on
Oh,
here.
I love Caddyshack.
Scarface.
Scarface. I've got that on here.
What about just comedies from the 80s, man?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's the comedy era right there.
Uh-huh.
So good.
Yeah, Caddyshack.
Caddyshack,
Meatballs,
Spaceballs.
Stripes,
Stripes.
Vacation.
Ghostbusters, obviously.
One of
I'm
my,
gonna get you, sucker.
one of my,
Spies Like Us.
one of my,
Three Amigos.
The Jerk.
Oh my God, there's so many awesome movies.
one of my hidden favorites. They Live, with Roddy Piper.
How about just anything John Carpenter?
You know,
In the
John,
80s.
John Carpenter from 78 until 88 or 79 until 89, whatever. I mean, the man made brilliant movies.
He did.
Brilliant. And then
Did
one
he
movie
make
that
Creepshow?
no,
He did one episode.
that was
didn't he?
George Romero.
Well, I thought, wasn't it 3 different directors for each
Not the
story?
first one.
Okay.
No, first one was. And then a movie that a lot of people have not seen, but I still love to this day: The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh wow, Terry Gilliam.
Terry Gilliam.
Right.
Yep.
I forget about him because then you have like Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have he's.
Time Bandits, Brazil. and Baron
Yeah,
Munchausen.
Time Man for sure, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one movie when I was young that really was so crazy because of the midget aspect. I've never seen before other than like Ewoks.
Little people, how dare
Well,
you?
yeah, this is the 80s. It was midget back then.
You gotta be PC.
They were
Well-
midgets. Would you prefer to be called a midget or a little person? I prefer
Well,
midget.
they prefer little person. I prefer midget. I think midgets.
Who's
were
they
great.
though? Like the committee,
I mean,
the committee of
no,
little people. It's just-
the community of little people want to be called little people.
whatever.
Do they
That
have- do
movie.
they have
but then
their
that
own-
would be called.
Did they have
We
their
would
own
have to
committee?
be called tall people or
Tall
big
people, we're big people, but that movie because of who the main characters were. Obviously, they had a main
Right.
character, which was
They
the
were
kid.
midgets.
But the main force of that movie
Damn
was
right.
them. It was like it blew my mind
It was
on
different.
on
It was
where
very
it
different.
went.
Yeah.
Where it went, it was just like between time and space. It was crazy. So the 80s were just they transcended, man.
Still, my favorite part of Time Bandits is, Mom, Dad, don't touch it. It's evil. And then the parents blow up.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah,
happens
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah,
very
yeah,
end
yeah.
there. Oh yeah.
Dude, it's a great movie.
And-
Great decade.
But
Great
the
decade, yeah.
decade is ridiculous because the shit they got away with, you know, the rating system. There was only PG
Right.
R.
That
I
was
mean,
it.
you know, I remember just seeing boobs in like PG movies.
Every
you know?
movie had
It's like,
boobs. Road Warrior. I watched that movie back when VHS
Boobs
came
were
out.
not a
Folks,
big
we're gonna.
deal.
I'm gonna date myself here. We're all gonna date ourselves here. We all grew up with when VHS came on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember going to Highland Appliance and renting First Blood and Road Warrior and Tron constantly.
I went to
And
Flutter.
I was right, same kind of thing, right? And I remember
1.21 gigawatts.
5.1 gigawatts. People.
Was Airplane was 1980, right?
I think so.
Airplane's
So
a great
early
movie.
80s at least, yeah.
Airplane's a
80 or
great
81.
movie.
So many good movies, and the comedies. You're right. Comedies, unparalleled comedies.
Comedy was
in that
king
movie.
in the 80s.
Comedies were king.
Airplane.
Trading.
Naked Gun.
God.
Naked Gun. Oh,
Top
I love
Gun
Naked
with
Gun.
80s.
Yeah,
Top Guns in the
you guys
80s.
haven't even got
Top
past 85 yet,
I know,
man.
right?
Late 80s were weird, man.
The 80s. just
RoboCop's
kept
in the
moving.
80s. Total Recall's in the
Everything.
80s.
every-
Die Hard was
everything.
early.
Eddie Murphy, man. Beverly Hills
Everything.
Cop,
Coming to America. 48 hours.
What an amazing decade. So, like, just because of this right there, 80s kind of take the lead.
Right, and it's not... I don't think it's because that's when we came of age. I mean, you know...
That's what I remember the most.
Right, but you look at those movies, those are amazing movies.
They
you
are
know?
good.
Like, it was just such an interesting time. Anything
Yeah.
could get made, you know? Think of all the...
Flash Gordon,
Flash Gordon.
1980.
Yeah.
I mean, we could just name 80s movies for the next hour.
We can just
if
go
we want
through
to.
every year and
Yeah.
point out a few movies. Rambo, First Blood Part 2, and Rocky 4 in the same year. I mean, come on.
You didn't even mention Rocky in the 70s.
I had it on my
did
list.
not.
for 90s. I did actually. I didn't say anything about it, but I did have it there. All right, so, and with the why 80s, what else do you have from the 80s that I missed?
Supergirl. Cocktail. Why did you
Okay.
guys say Cocktail?
I like this movie. The Hitcher
Huh.
with Rutger Hauer. It's another movie that's well constructed. It's brutal. It's got an excellent midpoint. And Rutger Hauer is just scary as shit in that movie.
See
And
Thomas
it's got a
Howell
lot
in
to
it?
say.
Yeah.
See Thomas Howell's in it, yeah.
Who was in Soul Man as a black guy.
And
The
Red Dawn.
Outsiders. The Outsiders.
Yep.
Oh,
1980s.
Yep. Oh yeah, man. 80s.
Young
80s were
Guns.
powerful. There's a lot of movies in there that not just because we grew up with them, because they're just fun stories. Ghostbusters.
Because they would
Obviously.
make movies. They didn't think about all the money they would make. Like now you have to, it's either remakes or sequels. It's all
Well, you have to
about
like
hedging
fit
your
it.
bets.
You got to fit it in the quadrant
Yeah.
and make sure it's cross pollination and it's not going to offend the Chinese, and
yeah,
whatever.
because now
else
it's a
they got
global
going on.
box office. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it was just
absolutely.
like, oh, this seems like a fun script. Let's make this.
Let's make this one. Yeah,
let's make
just this. Because
whatever. And I still
Ghostbusters never would have got made today. Never.
No,
So, 80s is kind of a favorite of mine. Tell me about your 90s.
Full Metal Jacket.
Ooh, Full Metal Jacket.
Okay, 80s.
Great
Hey,
movie.
you got it in the buzzer.
Yeah.
Got it on the buzzer.
Got under the buzzer.
That's awesome.
Okay, the 90s that I originally went into this not thinking that I was going to pull a lot of movies out of it.
Oh, right. I had
is
the same
one-
experience.
is
One
it-
of the
is it
most
big
important
thing?
movies is in the 90s.
What's
And
that?
what
about?
movie's that?
Cinema. I think it's Pulp Fiction.
I got
Oh.
it right number one on my list.
There you go.
I saw Pulp Fiction late night before it became popular. I'd read about it.
I saw Day came out.
Yeah, saw it at probably like 10 o'clock show, and I was sitting there and I was thinking like at the end when Sam Jackson is giving his monologue to Eric Roth, I was like, this is going to change
Tim
cinema.
Roth.
This is changing everything right here. Absolutely.
Yeah, it deserves to be on the list for sure.
Absolutely. Second, I've got Heat.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that at all.
3.
Good choice.
These aren't really in order, folks. It's just
Yeah.
I've just got a list. 7,
Nice.
which
One of my I love
which
David
is-
Fincher back then.
which
man.
is a terrifying movie.
It's so haunting,
disturbing.
so
it's
haunting.
disturbing.
And you don't see shit. That's the thing.
You don't see anything.
Yep.
It's just all implied.
It's fantastic.
Goodfellas.
I was gonna say
Great.
Goodfellas better.
Gotta
my
have
list.
Goodfellas on this list.
Yep.
I mean, Scorsese came back just on fire with that movie.
He sure did.
He'd had a couple stumbling blocks and came back with his best. It's got to be his best movie.
Yeah, you
It
think
is by
it's
far
gotta be.
his best movie.
Yeah.
It's totally his best movie.
I
It
won't-
might be
I won't
the
argue
best
that at
movie
all.
of the 90s. It's one of my
I mean, it
favorite
really.
of all time.
The fact that it lost to Dance with Wolves is just a criminal. It is what it is. Unforgiven.
Oh, wow. The total
And
reversal
again,
for
a massive
wow.
comeback for Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just a great movie. I can rewatch
Right.
that movie.
So
over
what
and
a
over again.
well-oiled machine that is.
One of my personal favorites, Leon the Professional.
Oh,
I love that movie.
Good call on
love that
that
movie.
one. I like that choice.
Then we talked about this before. Being John Malkovich.
Ah,
I mentioned that. Forrest Gump.
Okay.
I'm not shy about my love for Forrest Gump.
Was Malkovich Was that 90s?
Yeah, it was
That was
90,
99?
98 or 99, one of the two.
Well, it had to be 90. 99 was insane. That was Matrix. That's Fight Club. That's Malkovich.
Yeah,
That was
There's a lot going
very,
on.
very.
American Beauty, I think, was the same year, or 98 or 99, one of the two.
It's a very interesting year.
Okay, this movie, I don't think gets enough appreciation for how fucking good it is and how well constructed it is. Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh,
I'm sure.
Extremely well
that's
written.
a
Extremely
classic.
well written.
Yeah.
Braveheart.
right?
I fucking love Braveheart.
I watched that
Braveheart.
movie so many times I can't even tell you how
It's
many
kind of
times.
like one of those like guy laws. If it's on cable, you gotta watch it.
It's always on, right?
Saving Private Ryan.
Good choice. Great movie. It just changed the movie, the war movie aspect where it was
Yeah, that-
realistic.
I mean,
it was brutal.
It
And it was
brought the
like
war film
Damn,
back.
every movie Tom Hanks was in the 90s, man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was on fire too.
He really, he was it. We've mentioned these: The Matrix, American Beauty. You mentioned Fight Club. Movie that was not popular when it came out, but now it's probably on a lot of people's top 10 lists. Shawshank Redemption.
Perfect.
You're gonna
yeah,
say Shawshank.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then
No one saw that movie in the movie theater.
yeah, it was, and it was nominated for Oscars and everything. But great
Yeah.
movie. Gotta have a Kurt Russell movie, Tombstone.
Of course you do.
Gotta have
Tombstone.
Tombstone.
Absolutely, man. I wouldn't think anything less.
And a movie that I was initially disappointed in, only because the movie that preceded it was so fucking good. But now I've grown more appreciation for it. Casino.
Yeah. I'm not as big as a fan because it's almost like a rehash of Goodfellas, but it's still well done.
It's
just-
still, if any other filmmaker would have made it,
yeah,
it's their career best.
yeah.
But
Exactly.
because it's Scorsese after
Exactly.
Goodfellas, it
Yeah,
suffers a
exactly.
little bit. Yeah.
And I read Goodfellas, which is a book called Wise Guy, and I read
Yep.
Casino, and they're both written by Nicholas Pileggi.
Right.
And he basically, I mean, that's why they seem so similar. They're written by the same author, but they're both true stories.
Yep.
You know,
Interesting.
it's not the Tangiers in the book. It's I think it's Caesar's.
I love the 90s. The 90s were great. You mentioned not everyone that I have on my list,
Uh-huh.
but the vast
Let
majority.
him rip, Jay. What do you
So
got?
there's a couple more that I have. Obviously Jurassic Park and 7 around there.
Oh, Jurassic Park.
How about
Jurassic Park.
Forrest Gump? You said Tom Hanks, so obviously he was
Yeah.
on fire then.
That was a great.
The Big Lebowski,
Oh, good
Oh,
choice.
dear
Good
Lord.
choice.
right?
98.
Okay. So, but even before Pulp Fiction, you got Reservoir Dogs.
True.
For me, I like that movie more because it is just so intense and like intimate. It's
It's
fucking cool.
like what I was doing a little bit was I there was always two movies for like same filmmaker,
right,
and I try to lean towards one.
right.
And as much as I love Reservoir Dogs, I think Pulp Fiction's more of a game changer.
It is a game changer for sure, but I just love the
I
intensity of
I
dogs and the characters. Like I just want to watch those bank robbers. And
I
see
love
what happens.
Jackie Brown.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Boys in the Hood,
Yes.
big movie of mine back in the
Yeah,
80s,
mine
man.
too.
or
Didn't
90s.
like it when I saw it.
I could not
Loved
stop
it.
watching
Yeah,
that movie.
I watched
Didn't
it
like it.
all the time.
Didn't like it.
And then two really, really favorites. They didn't make my top 5, but two big game changers for me in the 90s.
Yeah.
Out of Sight.
Yes.
Oh, good movie.
I love
Yes.
the way that the soundtrack, the editing, the story, how it goes back and forth a little bit with like the Quentin Tarantino aspect, but
Yeah.
so good.
Right, you need Pulp Fiction.
I like
to
what
have
Steven
out of
Soderbergh.
Yeah, exactly.
Steven Soderbergh like bounced back because he was not having a good role.
No.
And he came back with
He
that.
hasn't made a lot of great movies, but some of the movies he's made have been some of my favorites.
Yes, he's
I
a
love
good
Ocean's
filmmaker.
11.
I love both of them too.
Good movie.
And then another one that no one's mentioned is Usual Suspects.
Oh yeah, good
Yeah,
movie.
it's a
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
movie in the 90s, right? But, okay, I have to say this. We talk about 90s.
Yeah.
We talk about love of what decade is more important to you. And I say
Sure.
80s is because it's what I grew up with. It's what I know the most, what I saw the most.
Mm-hmm.
90s changed my life,
Mm.
movie-wise. One, because of Fight Club.
Right.
It just...
So what is it about Fight Club? Because
Yeah,
you bring it
Fight
up a
Club-
lot. What did it?
it was where I was at, right? It was where I was
Okay.
at. I got out of college. It was my
Uh-huh.
job after college, and I wasn't happy. And I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't like where decisions I had made and where I was going, and I was just very unhappy with my
Okay.
whole lot in life at that
Fair
point.
enough.
And I watched Fight Club, and it just opened my eyes, not just to movies, but to life.
Oh,
And it made me
interesting.
think about things differently. I was like, holy crap. And it really woke me up. That's kind of the point of the movie.
It's like a
Right?
big budget independent film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point of what they're doing there is to wake you up.
Right.
Like,
Right.
get out of your slumber.
Like, you're
Like the Matrix, right? You're in that slumber, wake you up, and that's what Fight Club was for
Yeah.
me.
Well,
It
do
woke
you
me
notice
up.
that there's
It's
a
like-
lot of movies in that time frame that kind of have that same message? Do you notice
Oh
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for me, that's like I say, that's because of Fight Club and The Matrix, and obviously Goodfellas and Tombs, Unforgiven.
Right.
The movies you mentioned, everything is on my list, but it's those movies that really changed me and made me want to be a filmmaker, made me want to be a writer. The ones I remember in the 80s were the ones I loved, but the ones in the 90s kind of made who I am.
No.
Made who I am as far as like getting outside of the 80s. 80s had a very kind of like a specific thing going on, right? The 90s was like the 70s almost, where it elevated things.
There was a lot of very
changed
aggressive.
things.
There's a lot of aggressive filmmaking.
Yeah,
in the 90s.
it changed the game a little
Yeah.
bit with a lot of movies like that, and I think that's what I like about like the 70s for you.
reading, listening to your guys' list. 80s was my favorite decade of movies. I mean, that's what I grew up on. Everything's fantastic. But hearing what you guys are saying about the 90s, those are some of my favorite movies of all time.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Fight Club, obviously, I think it was our age because it spoke to me too. And I mean, I've seen them dozens of times. I read the book over and over again. It's that perfect thing to just be like, do you want to be like everyone else or do you just want to do your own thing,
Right.
Because when you're like, what was it, 21, 22, or, 23, whatever, you're like, I don't know what I want to do
Exactly.
with my life,
Exactly.
And then this is like, do you want,
transforms you.
yeah.
Okay, so since it had a profound effect on both of you, when you guys first saw it, what was the impact of realizing that Brad Pitt was Ed Norton?
I'm gonna say this.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
saw it.
Okay,
I did not.
But I didn't recognize it. But
Okay.
I something in my back of my mind caught it.
Mhm.
But it wasn't something like verbalized or literally made like sense of yet. But something made sense like that. So when it happened, I was like, oh yeah, because I saw that. I kind of think I saw that. Like I had a hint of it. Not that I called it out or anything. It wasn't.
Well, I mean,
foreseen.
they were putting,
Yeah.
flashes of them in there. I felt like how they described it in the movie, where it's like, now return your tray table and your seat back. I felt like that. I was like, oh, this is changing everything.
Right.
I was like, I felt it. I mean, it was kind of like when I saw The Sixth Sense, and I was like the blood felt like it came out of my face. I was like, oh, the entire thing is different.
Right,
It's
right.
like everything just changes.
It's a good decade. It's a good decade of filmmaking. Like I say,
But like I
80s
said,
had a
those
special
are some
place,
of my
but-
favorite. I mean, Goodfellas, Shawshank. You guys didn't mention Dazed and Confused, one of my all-time favorite movies, which I hated when I saw it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think because I saw it when I was in high school, because it was '94, so I was the last year of high school, and I'm like, I think I was too close to being in high school. I'm like, I don't want to watch a bunch of people in high school. But now looking back, and I'm like, man, that movie's great.
Okay, how about Jackie Brown? I did not like Jackie Brown.
I
when
did
first
not
saw
like
it.
Jackie Brown either.
But now, I think I like it almost more than most of his movies because it's the most mature movie.
Mhm.
It's not him being, like crazy. It's like he's being more honed into his
Right.
to a story.
It
And
made
really
me
feels right.
It made me find Elmore Leonard, and
Ah.
I read Get Shorty. I
Out of
read Jackie Brown's called Rum Punch, Out of Sight.
Yeah.
And it just,
Yeah.
I mean, that you could see that's where Tarantino was coming from. If you read an Elmore Leonard book, you're like, oh, this is what inspired
Right.
Tarantino. It's the same kind of dialogue, everything.
And what's interesting about the 90s is a few of our favorites that were coming out of here are made by who came out of the 70s. Spielberg, Scorsese
Okay.
are still relevant.
Yeah,
and
yeah. 20 years
made
later.
some of their
Right.
best work.
Yeah.
Some of their best work.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Going into their third decade.
Right.
Yeah.
And then some of these guys that came out of that decade, The Matrix and Wachowski's, just hit shit the bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fincher to me has become boring.
He's totally boring. I don't look at him as seeing like, oh, it's a Fincher movie.
I
I
really
gotta go
like
see it.
Social Network. I enjoyed
Yeah,
Gone
it's
Girl
okay.
fine.
I mean, they're good, but
I don't
they're-
think I'd like Gone Girl as much if it was directed by
He's
someone
not
else.
pushing himself anymore.
It's
He's
very
just adapting things.
he's
sure,
adapting
but,
things
But
and
I mean,
making
Fight
kind of
Club's an
safe choices.
adaptation. Seven was the only one that wasn't.
well, Fight Club's it's a book. That's right. Fight Club's
And it's
a book.
almost exactly the book.
It's almost exactly the book.
Game.
Yeah.
The Game.
Game was
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great
very
movie.
underrated.
His first three movies, man. The Game, Seven, and not Seven. Obviously, Alien 3 was his first movie, but
that was all studio interference.
and then Fight Club, man. He's just. But yeah, that's the thing. Is like I'm sure you do have any more that we haven't hit on in the '90s.
No, I think I've hit it pretty much I got it.
Yeah, I mean that's
Got
just
it
it's a
all,
good
yeah.
decade. So that's
That
for
was Spielberg in the 90s. You had Jurassic Park. I love Minority Report.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do love Minority
Minority
Report.
Report's the 2000s, 2001 or 2.
Is that right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
90s,
What was
he-
90s?
In the 90s, he had Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, and Saving Private Ryan.
Schindler
I mean,
and
those
Jurassic
are
Park were
three.
the same year.
Yeah, I mean, he had an
And
amazing
he's been
role.
doing it since '75.
I mean,
Before that, because of Duel.
look, Spielberg is hands down for me.
Of course,
He's the
it
best
is.
filmmaker
Yeah.
out there. I mean,
Right.
it just is. You can say so and so makes better movies, but as much as people like Tarantino or so on, he kind of makes the same movie over and over again,
Right.
different genre. Spielberg has made horror films. He's made adventure films.
Sci-fi
He's
films.
made sci-fi films.
Kid films.
He's made children's films. He's made historical film
Right.
biopics.
Yep.
I mean, the guy, he made a movie out of Lincoln
Yeah.
that made $200 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
and
I
he-
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
he
Danny
made a
Day-Lewis,
movie-
anything. I'll
he
enjoy.
makes, kind of like light comedies, and he can do anything.
Yeah.
You know.
He is.
He's got this special
He's
touch. I don't know if it's his editing or just the way he handles his actors or something, but everything is just so watchable.
And
You
genuine.
know? Yeah.
And
It's just-
genuine.
You just enjoy watching his movies, you know.
Yeah. No. He's just. Most of the time, you're absolutely right about that.
Mhm.
He's good. He is.
It's like I didn't want to watch Lincoln. I put it in. I'm like,
I did
this is
because
fun.
I want
This
to. I
is
want to
nice.
see anything that he's doing with Danny Day-Lewis. First of all.
Well, I
Very
was
fun.
kind of like, how are they going to suck 2 hours out of this movie?
Right.
Because I knew the time frame they were looking at, and I went and saw it when I was here. I was here some wind and it was snowing, and I just went next door to the hotel and saw it. And about 10 minutes in, I'm like, this is a fucking great movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
And what's
Great movie.
what's strange about Spielberg is I look at the subject matter he chooses now, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to see that. And then I watch it, and because he makes it so
Yeah.
entertaining.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Like Terminal, I was like, I don't want to watch that. Then I watched it. I watched the whole thing. It's not a
Right.
great movie,
Which one?
The Terminal,
Oh, Terminal. Yeah.
but it's still watchable.
Yeah, oh, for
just
sure.
like
For
Bob
sure.
said, it's still entertaining.
Yeah.
Catch Me If You Can is a lot of fun.
Same thing right there.
You know?
Yeah.
When they announced
AI,
AI.
oh man, AI is amazing.
When they announced he's making Ready Player One, I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense.
Right.
When
Yeah.
I read the book, I'm like,
I wanna read
the
that
only
book.
person that can make this is Spielberg. You know.
All right. So we've covered everyone but the last one. We're gonna get into 2000s.
All right.
What do you got for 2000s?
Ooh.
Good decade.
You know what? It's a lot better than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
But much different than what came before, though. No Country for Old Men,
Oh, perfect. I'm on.
which is endlessly watchable.
Oh yeah.
That's
Endlessly
07,
watchable.
right?
I think so, yeah.
Around there.
Sounds
And that's
about right.
the same year as, which I think was the better movie, was There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
Also-
They're
different.
also
both,
on
they're
my
both
list.
up for Best Picture.
Yeah,
there.
different. I think
Yeah.
I like No Country for Old Men, how it's plotted and structured. It's just, for me, it's just so good. Now, these aren't in any particular order. Like,
Sure.
I've kind of picked, this Casino Royale. Best,
Oh, yeah.
best Bond movie
Best
ever.
Bond
Oh,
movie
yeah.
of all time.
Best
for
Bond
sure.
movie ever.
Yeah.
The Incredibles.
Oh, interesting selection.
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
cool. Very
Mhm.
cool.
AI,
Okay.
which I think is brilliant sci-fi
Yeah.
from Spielberg. I mean,
Especially since it comes from Stanley
from
Kubrick.
Kubrick. I mean,
Yeah.
and the whole
Channeling of it all
Teddy
that.
the Bear is just one of my favorite characters in cinema
That's awesome.
ever. $1 Million Baby,
Okay.
which I can't watch without crying.
I can't watch it ever again.
Hate that movie.
Fair enough.
You have feelings.
Up,
Up? Oh, yeah. I love Up.
Pixar really came into their own.
Oh, yeah.
Up's a great
Oh, yeah.
movie.
Speaking of feelings.
Yeah.
Now,
one 15-minute
Yeah.
scene with no words, and it's
Yeah,
just
the first
amazing
10 minutes of the
emotional.
movie.
Oh, wow.
this is a film that you and I discovered. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Wow.
Great movie.
Nice.
Great movie.
What about the other ones?
Oh, good. Oh, boys. Phenomenal, too.
Well, I had to pick between Old Boy and Sympathy, and I picked Sympathy.
Yeah.
I
Not
picked
bad.
Sympathy. A Gladiator.
Okay. I love you love Gladiator. Gladiator is a great movie.
Movie that I recognize for its craft and its impact it had on people, but I can't possibly ever watch it again. Passion of the Christ.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, another one. Just like Another Baby, where I can't watch it again.
I can't watch it again.
Yeah, but it's a very, very powerful, very good movie. Good.
Okay. This one hits me every time I watch it. Hits me right. It hits me hard. Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, dude, that I wasn't.
Can you guys watch that movie again?
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
bought
really?
it, man.
It's
It's so hard to
It's
watch.
rough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
What an amazing movie. Aronofsky, man, just fucking going crazy.
Amelie. One of
Nice.
my favorite romances ever. One of my favorite
Nice
romances ever.
selection.
I forgot Amelie. I love that movie.
Okay, this I love the whole movie, but I love how the relationship is built in this particular movie more than a lot of other things. Man on Fire.
Nice.
As Denzel Washington gets to know Dakota Fanning.
Yeah,
I
saw
think
that
it's
one.
awesome.
Very,
You
very,
never
very-
seen Man on Fire?
Oh, you should.
Dude, you gotta watch Man on Fire.
It's very good. Yeah.
I want to watch Amelie again.
Crap, I got the rest of my list here somewhere. Oh no, it's all here. And then movie, just because I like Danny Boyle, I threw his movies on there. Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead, which I've
Nice.
grown in appreciation
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Love
Love
that.
Love
Grown
that
in
movie.
appreciation for. And my favorite comedy out of that era is Anchorman.
Nice. Yeah. So the 20s do hit. The 2000s do have some.
They
good
had some good stuff in there, yeah. You know.
You hit a lot of course. You've hit a lot of the ones I have on there.
Makes sense,
Especially,
yeah, makes sense.
Requiem for a Dream, and I have There Will Be Blood higher than No Country for Old Men. But it's not in any
Okay.
particular order. But I mentioned that movie before I did No Country for Old
Right,
Men.
right.
The Dark Knight.
Yes.
The entire superhero genre
Right.
basically
Was
was
born
the
in the 2000s.
Except for
Yeah.
89 Batman.
Well, no, I mean, but X-Men, then Spider-Man,
Right.
that's really blew up.
Right, yeah, no, that blew up.
And then you had you had a
Yeah.
movie every year, basically. Dark Knight.
Okay, 2 movies for the 2000s that were 2 of my favorite.
Okay.
Children for No Men.
Children
Okay.
of Men.
Children of Men, I'm
Children
sorry.
of Men, yeah.
I'm reading 2 different things. Children of Men.
Uh-huh.
Wow. The way the camera tells a story,
Right.
where it's just like Gravity, same director. The camera just keeps moving, and it keeps going through a scene. It's amazing.
What's the midpoint in Children of Men?
It's a good one. It's when they get ambushed or his friend gets killed.
I'm going to say, when Michael Caine dies.
Yeah, when his friend gets killed. He has like.
I was gonna say, is it in the car where
the accident happens.
where they all get shot?
Ooh, that's a good one. But it could be right there. I have to look at it. It could be that one too.
I think it's more Michael Caine's death.
I think so too. That
That's
seems
his-
to be
that's
more
his
dramatic.
Friend. That's his friend.
Right. And then the other one that I want to mention. Wow. I think it might be my favorite movie of that decade.
Okay.
The Assassination of Jesse James.
Great movie.
Wow.
Great movie.
What a movie. Bob brought that over and we watched it and I was like, can I keep that? I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it, so fucking
and it
much.
doesn't seem like a movie you would be rewatchable.
No.
It's
but
very
the way it's told.
slowly paced and
But it's
the
mesmerizing.
the acting is phenomenal.
So there's a couple more, like Memento. Memento is in the 2000s.
I really like that movie.
It's a great movie.
I really like it.
And it's Christopher Nolan's second movie, but still his first movie that people knew about, right? Because he made The Following,
Right.
80-minute movie.
So, and do you... Oh, sorry.
I'd
Keep
say
going.
anything of Nolan's
Keep going.
from the
I only have 2 more of that decade
what you
that
got?
you haven't said.
What you got?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Not a huge fan.
I love of all of Del Toro's movies. That's the
I'd
one
say
I can
that's my
watch.
favorite.
I
Or
like
Devil's Backbone.
I prefer Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, no, I prefer that one better. But
Backbone.
I like
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth, and the last one would be top Kill Bills.
Yeah, I'm not as big a fan.
I know you're not, but
I
really
like
what
them.
they did.
I like them, but
And
I'm
here's
not a huge
why:
fan.
because they're
Yeah.
spaghetti western and Asian influenced, and that's what I want. I wanted to see his samurai and spaghetti western thing, and that's what those were.
So-
So that's why I got enjoyment out of them.
So you notice again, we're not getting that much new talent. No Country is a Coen's been around
Right.
since the 80s. Casino Royale, Martin Campbell been around forever, and it's James Bond. It's kind of
it's just a
4 decades old.
Gladiator,
Just a
you got
reboot of a-
Scott.
It was still
yeah.
Ridley Scott.
Got the
you know.
introduction of Nolan,
Nolan, you got Nolan out of that decade.
Paul S. Anderson or Paul W. Anderson. Who did the I get
Paul
those
Thomas
guys.
Anderson.
Our Aronofsky's intro.
Aronofsky came out of it. Yeah,
Assassin Jesse James is
he hasn't done a whole lot though.
Andrew Dominic.
Andrew Dominic.
I didn't like Kill Him Softly.
Kill Me Softly.
I mean, he needs to bounce back with something.
Yeah. And then you got Alfonso Cuarón with Children of Men.
Right.
And then Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan again. So you have 2 of him in his introduction and his
Nolan kind of
Yeah.
dominated.
yeah.
Nolan really
For sure.
dominated for sure. Yeah.
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 There's some good movies, but I can't put that in my top list. Even though Requiem for a Dream and Jesse James on there, it's a good decade, and I give it more credit than I thought I was going to.
Right.
But for me, I think it really comes down to me is the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, for me it's
It's
still
70s.
for me it's still the 70s.
I'm still, and
Yeah.
then after we just talked about it, I made my mind up, and I it's gonna be the 80s for me because the 80s was more of just an inspirational, like who I was and watching those movies. 90s inspired me, but when I looked at the list, not just the top 5, when I compare the top 5, the 90s almost kind of take the lead, but it's the list of
Right.
the '80s that I can put on there.
Well, you know
it's just
There's
the whole body of work.
just
Right.
so many movies. We
Right.
could, like I said, we could list off movies from the '80s for the next hour.
Right,
Just-
and same with the '90s too.
Star Trek too, right?
But I think that even the ones that you name, if you name the same amount of movies from the '80s to '90s, I think if you even had 100 movies, I think the movies that you saw in the '80s, I think as you got deeper, you would like those movies more than the deeper list of the '90s.
Well, what I noticed as we were talking through it is the guys who came into prominence and made some of their classics in the '70s kind of lost their way late '80s and then came back with a vengeance in the '90s.
For sure.
And made some of their best work.
Absolutely. Hey, we're joined by Tina.
Tina just couldn't stand being by herself
Hi, Tina.
downstairs. All the boys are upstairs.
She's drunk.
So, I think the whole point of this
Usually.
one was just to kind of like find out what, and you kind of figured out what yours was. I had to figure mine out. I knew it was 80s
I
and
knew what
90s.
mine was without a question.
But then when you start discussing and you see like the longevity of it, I love the inspiration of both the 70s and 90s
Right.
and how they really transformed cinema.
I mean, the '70s and '90s had more influence for today's film.
For sure, absolutely, yeah. And I can't pull that away from those 2 decades. But I
Right.
think when I look at it, it's just the body of work. It's the amount of movies
The
that I
80s
can
is
watch
just
over
fun.
and
The
over.
80s is fun.
80s.
If you
Fun.
took a poll of my movie selection, I probably would say you would probably find more movies in the 80s in my movie selection.
Well, Bob made a good point. In the '80s, it was kind of like, let's just make this movie.
Yeah.
Let's make this one. And
Right.
you had a
That
lot of
sounds like
fun,
fun.
energetic films.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Princess
Yeah.
Bride.
Yeah.
Oh God, man,
Yeah.
so many good movies.
And the 2000s are always a special place
Breakfast
in my
Club.
heart.
Breakfast
Yeah,
Club.
Oh, any John Hughes.
any
16
John Hughes,
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller, 16 Candles.
But the 2000s is always a special place in my heart because of
You had
just
to.
the superhero boom, and that's gave us Marvel. I mean, 2008 was Iron Man.
So
Right.
so far,
You
in
had
the
your chance.
in the 2010s, anything really floated your boat?
You know, see, I didn't want to go in the 2010s because it's too soon, right? Gravity, obviously.
Okay.
I don't even think I even made a list because Drive. Obviously, if I want to put Revenant, Fury Road,
Okay.
great movie. There's great movies,
Yeah,
but
right.
we're too close to it. We're not too far removed from it yet. I think you need to be a little bit further back so you can see what it either did or how you feel about them later on.
I feel like we're in an age right now where we're going to look back at this the same way we're looking at the 80s
We might.
as some
We
real
might.
classic films.
You got the new Star Wars, right? You got the new Road Warrior or Mad Max.
Mad Max, yeah.
You have I like The Revenant a lot, man. I wish you guys would. I can't believe you guys haven't seen that movie. It's amazing.
But the difference is that now, since the studios are so gun shy, is that you're getting all these great filmmakers, but they're all making sequels or
They're making the stuff we
remakes.
loved in the 70s
Yeah,
and 80s.
and they're just remaking it. So you're
And
getting,
it's the same guys.
and
Almost.
you're getting
yeah.
you're getting different voices, but you're not really
You're
getting
not going
the
to
original.
you're not capturing the originality of the 70s
Yeah.
and early 80s. You're not.
But you're
they're
just
good
having all
movies.
these different voices show you stuff that you already know. you
That's
know?
why I wrote down a couple. Snowpiercer.
Oh,
Just a wildly original voice that just kind of came out of
Yeah.
left field.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. How about Edge of Tomorrow?
but that's
I wrote that down,
That's
too.
a comic
Okay.
book movie. Snowpiercer's
Yeah.
not an original story.
It's from a comic book, yeah, exactly.
And then I'll give you two more of that
Okay.
decade that I liked a lot.
Uh-huh.
Inception. Guess Who?
Right.
Another
of course.
one, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it's a hard movie for me to get through nowadays, but Rise of the Planet of the Apes, because it's
That's
so
the first one or
emotional.
the second one?
The first.
Okay.
Because Rise and Dawn are very similar titles.
Rise of the Planet.
Yeah,
Dawn's
I
the
get
second.
Dawn
confused.
does rise.
I get confused.
Dawn
But
is actually
Caesar's
the first
Caesar's
Rise.
a great character.
The way
Caesar's
like
a
there's
great
so much
character.
emotion, like just like the start of his character and like the dropping him off at the habitat.
Yes, yes.
And then when he goes back to visit, those two scenes, there's like I think 3 scenes that have him getting there, visiting, and then being rejected.
Right.
Right? And those are so hard to watch. They're so powerful and so emotional. Yes, they give me feelings, Tina. I cry just like I do in Toy Story 3. Especially at the end of Toy Story 3,
I never
where
saw
they're getting ready to get baked in lava
I
in
guess
the
I might
fire
see it.
inferno, and they
Oh,
hold each
yeah,
other's
yeah.
hands as like let's just give in. We're friends. Let's just die together. It's just so powerful. But man, it's awesome. It's a good decade too, but we're too close to it.
I think we're seeing a lot of good work.
We are.
You talk about Drive.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Refn's going to be a huge talent.
I love Refn. He makes movies that he wants to make. He wants to make.
What's
He wants to make
then?
like the Only God Forgives.
Yeah.
Couldn't even watch it. Not a very good movie.
I like it.
See, I couldn't
I
get through
like
Is
it.
that
it
all
a
he's
lot.
made since then?
He made a movie called Neon Demon. That's
Comes out soon.
Right, that I want to
Yeah.
go see because I just want to see what he does. I'm intrigued by him.
It's very interesting.
I
guy
liked
to
his
watch.
earlier stuff. He did the Tom Hardy prison guy,
I saw that.
right?
Yeah.
What's that called?
It was the name of the character.
Chopper.
Chopper.
He made Chopper.
No, that was Eric Bana. You're thinking of the Tom Hardy movie. That was Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson.
Bronson,
Thank you,
Bronson,
Ron. Thank you,
Ron
thank you,
Bronson,
thank you,
yeah.
thank you. And
Very
then he
similar.
did Valhalla
Yeah, right.
with Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Interesting
I love that
movie.
movie.
Crazy
Love that
fucking
Well,
movie.
isn't he known for he had like some kind of crime trilogy, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
the Pusher.
Yeah, the Pusher.
I watched.
trilogy. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this on those movies. I watched the first two. I don't know if I got to the third one, but that second one, the guy, I forgot who it is. I forgot who it is.
Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield.
He's in the second movie.
He was in it, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I can't
But
remember.
in the second movie, I forgot the actor. The stuff that he's doing,
Matthew
I
McConaughey.
was pacing in front of the TV because he was doing coke and like the things that he was doing had me so like
Wound
had
up.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
You were in anxiety.
what is he gonna fucking do now? Is he gonna
I
fucking leave the
know.
kid there? It was like so
I know.
brutal to watch. It really hit. Those are the movies that are hard to watch, but you remember.
But you
It
have to
was
watch this.
shocking.
Compelled to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's
Like
a good-
I wrote
good
down
decade.
Super.
Super.
I like Super a lot.
When we saw that, man,
That was a
James
perfect storm.
Gunn.
That was a perfect storm.
James
Yeah.
Gunn, man, I like some James Gunn. He's
You
got
don't
some
cut in
talent.
line.
You don't.
You
no
know-
cutsies.
No,
No cutsies.
at the end when he's just going off on him
That
and
movie was
he
right.
finally
brutal.
kills him.
And even when she gets killed, when Ellen Page gets killed, it was such a
Shocker.
shocker. You were
Huge
like,
shock.
Huge.
holy shit, she just got shot in the chest with a shotgun.
No,
She's
she's in
dead.
the head.
Got her head blown off.
Head blown
she
off.
shot
Okay,
in the head.
yeah.
I love that scene. It was like, it's all gushy.
I
And I wrote down a movie that
I love
like,
when Kevin Bacon walks in. He's like, "So, are you making eggs? Are those brown eggs?" Or...
Yeah.
And then you see him on commercials for eggs, and I can't stop thinking about that scene.
and then I wrote down because I think the guy's a huge talent, but no one else has seen his movies, and I can't think of his name right now. Upstream Color, the guy who made Primer.
Oh, what is his name?
I forget his name right. Carruth. Darren Carruth or something Carruth. I forget his
Something like
name.
that,
I
yeah.
forget his
Carruth.
name.
Ray Caruth.
I forget his
Right.
name, but that's a great movie.
Yeah, there's some,
Upstream Color.
but there is good
Upstream
stuff.
Color.
There's good stuff in that. How about Winter Soldier?
Oh, the Russos.
For
Oh,
me,
but, I mean, it's a
you know?
great movie. Like it's it's a great movie. But I was just trying to recognize that we're starting some really good talent
we are
coming up.
Russos.
The Russos.
That's right there.
The
Who would've-
Russos
who would've
are.
thought.
The Russos are
Yeah.
like classic filmmakers.
Yeah,
They know how to build and structure a movie.
right.
They
Yeah,
know how to
exactly.
film an action scene, which is
Hell yeah, they
Sure
do.
as hell
Which
do.
A lot
some
of
people just have
can't
no
do.
clue.
Fuck.
Yeah,
So hopefully Craig will be in town in a few weeks
I plan on it.
for Civil War.
Speaking of
I
filming an
plan on
action scene, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Wow,
You know,
wow, what a really cool movie.
Well, my issue with that, I love watching that movie, but to me, there's just no drive. The characters are totally unlikable. I just can't get behind it.
But it's so
Visually interesting.
strange that you just keep
8
having
books in
to,
one
yeah.
movie.
It's
Right.
so visually interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I finally came down with mine. You knew yours immediately. Mine's the 80s. Bob, what's your favorite decade?
Oh, 80s by far.
80s? Okay, so
Yeah.
we have two 80s, one 70s. Tina is Michael Bay decade. Whatever.
You know,
Michael
we
Bay
should.
decade
You know,
is.
what we should talk about sometime is we're talking about decades and so on and so forth, and we do is like hit on certain scenes. We should talk about favorite scenes sometime.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna make some notes.
All right,
I like that idea.
I'll take you up on that.
So Craig, how do you reach us?
You know what? If you want to make a comment or lambaste us or insult us or praise us, go to thejaycraig.com.
thejaycraig.
TheJayCraig.
The J. Craig.
Leave us a note. Listen to our material. Plunge your way through the Batman vs Superman podcast if you
Oh
can.
my god, and it's fun. I think it's
Think
fun.
of your favorite scenes, because that sounds like something you guys might be.
Yeah.
Might have to do that pretty soon.
Yeah.
One just popped in my head right now. It's called. It's from a movie
Save
called.
it.
Well, it's
What is it?
it's from a movie called My Daughter's Boyfriend, and it's the point where the girl bangs the daughter's boyfriend. I think it's a porn though.
That can be a favorite scene.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
I cannot deny that. I cannot deny that. Folks, thanks for listening. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
thanks
dropping
for
by to
having
the
me.
Home Alone, and we'll see you soon.
Greg, see you next time, brother.
Ciao.
See you.